Hi, my name is James Shepard, and in this video, we're going to explore probably the most common objection that you're going to get in merchant services sales, even though it does take a lot of different forms. But the core objection is, let me think about it. Now, you're going to get a lot of different objections that are going to funnel into this. One of the most common ones you're going to hear is, could you email me some information about this and I'll review it and I'll get back to you, that kind of thing. And so, you're going to hear that. Some people will actually say, why don't you give me a couple days to think it over and then I'll let you know. Now, this is another one of those times where it's always better to go with the flow than to go against the flow initially. So we're going to start off by agreeing with them and using a buffer statement. Well, of course, I would never want you to make a decision you're uncomfortable with, and I really appreciate you seriously considering this. Now you're going to go into your rebuttal. And with this one, I do a little bit more of a short rebuttal. And there's a couple options I wanted to give you, different things that you can try. If you're up for trying something that requires a lot of self-confidence and a little bit of humor, if you can come across as a little bit funny when you're out in the field, you can try this one. I'll say, well, yeah, I can certainly understand that. Let me ask you this, though. What do you think about it? Just ask them that. It's a really simple question. Now, again, you got to be able to say it with a little bit of a smirk on your face, and, because it's, if you say it, well, what do you think about it? Well, that's not going to work. You got to say, like, well, I can appreciate that. I mean, I know you want to take some time, but I mean, what do you think about it? And you kind of laugh a little bit, chuckle after you say that. So what that's going to do is a little bit of humor. A lot of times it's just going to cut right through to the core issue, and then they're going to tell you. It's funny because a lot of times they'll be like, oh, well, really, I guess the problem is, and then they're going to tell you, right? And then you're going to get to the real objection, because the problem with I think about it is that I think about it isn't actually the objection, because as we all know, if we're in sales, and if you don't know this, you need to understand right now, they're not going to think about it. They're never going to think about it. In fact, the moment you walk out of the door is the last time they're ever going to think about you, the last time they're ever going to think about your product or service, until you come back in a week later when they tell you, oh yeah, you were here last week. Yeah, I did think about it. We decided not to do it. Like, that's the next time they're going to think about it. They're not going to think about it. What are they really saying? What they're really saying is, I don't care. Now, they might also be saying, I don't like you or I don't trust you, depending on how early you are in the process. But most likely at this point, they're just saying, I don't care. It's kind of like, yeah, let me think about that. Well, what that really means is, what's the point? I have an inventory truck coming in. I've got all this other stuff to do. I've got an employee I've got to fire, and then I got to find somebody else to hire. And you're in here talking to me about some crap I don't care about. No, like, yeah, I'll think about it. That's really what they mean, right? So what do we need to do? Well, we're going to start off by agreeing with them. Then we can try the humor approach if you want. Well, what do you think about it? If you don't want to do that, you want to go a little bit more of an advanced approach, then what you do is you agree with them. Then you say, well, let's do this. Let's at least go ahead and set an appointment time so I can come back, because I want to give you time to think about it, but I also want to be able to answer questions that are going to come up as you're going through that thought process. How would next Tuesday at 2 p.m. sound? Whatever, right? Sometimes I'll give them an alternate advance. Would it work better if I came back on Friday around, say, 4 p.m. or Monday around 9 a.m.? What works better for you? So I'm going to do an alternate advance, and they're going to say, let's do Monday at 9 a.m. Great, let me put that in here. So I'm going to see you Monday at 9 a.m. Perfect, right? I'm going to lock that in. Now what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to come back around the block, and now I'm going to say, and it's funny, sometimes I'll even turn and walk away a little bit. So I'll be like, awesome, yeah, well, I really appreciate that. And like I said, I'll email everything to you. I'll stop back by Monday morning at 9, and we'll follow up then. One thing though, real quick, just before I go, just so I can be prepared when I come back on Monday, what would you say after everything you've seen so far? What is the main thing that you're really considering and thinking over in order to make your decision? Okay, so watch what I did there. That body language is really, really important, because I really want to, there's something about when a sales rep turns like this, what it does is it's like a magical thing. It basically, in their mind, they put their defenses down. And so they're very, and like we talked about before, I mean, there is this kind of combative, competitive thing going of this person's trying to sell me, I don't want to buy anything from them, I don't want to be sold. And there's kind of this back and forth. And once you turn, they kind of they're back to thinking about other things. Okay, finally I got rid of the stupid sales rep, I can get back to what I'm doing. And then you're like, yeah, great, well, hey, I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. I'll see you back here on Monday morning. One thing real quick, I'm sorry, I just thought of, so when I come back on Monday at 9, I want to make sure I'm prepared for the meeting. What would you say are the main points of what we've talked about so far that are still a concern to you, that are keeping you from moving forward at this point, just so I can be prepared for our meeting on Monday? Now what's going to happen is their defenses are down. Usually you're going to get a negative response. I mean, they're not going to be like, actually, maybe I do want to buy it. No, they're going to give you a very negative response, but the difference is they're going to tell you the truth. So usually instead of saying, well, I just want to think about it, a lot of times they'll at that point say, honestly, man, I have too much going on right now. Like, I'm just not interested. They'll say like, well, really, I think I can just call my current company and get a better deal anyway. It's just not worth it. Like, you're going to get the real response. Then you can actually deal with that legitimate objection with a new rebuttal. Okay? But by doing that little movement and that little turning and coming back and everything, you're going to be able to get to the real objection, which is the key thing if you want to actually make sales. My name is James Shepard. I'm looking forward to showing you more objections and rebuttals in the next video.